Good morning, members of the Transportation Review Committee. This meeting is now called to order at 10:02 a.m. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Testing. Can everyone hear me? Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will go down the list alphabetically by organization. Please indicate if you're present. Ted Wolf, Apache Junction.
Present.
Thank you. Audra Merrick, ADOT.
Yes, I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you. Raj Thowdam, Avondale.
Present.
Thank you. John Willett, Buckeye.
Present.
Thank you. CJ DiMaggio, Carefree.
Present.
Thank you. Hal Marin, Cave Creek.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chair Crampton. Thank you. Jorge Gastelum, El Mirage. Thank you. Romare Truly, FHWA. Brian Turcate is proxy for Andy Smith, Florence.
Here.
Thank you. David Janover, Fountain Hills.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Hafner, Gilbert.
Here.
Thank you. Prab Adabala, Glendale.
Here.
Thank you. Steve Cinto, Goodyear.
Present.
Thank you. Amanda Nelson, Guadalupe. Keith Dranaski, Litchfield Park.
I'm here.
Thank you. Keith Brown, City of Maricopa.
Present.
Thank you. Chair Wilcox.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Guderian, Mesa.
Present.
Thank you. Shar Johnson, Paradise Valley.
This is Sam Kayat, proxy for Shaw Johnson, Paradise Valley.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Brianna Velez is proxy for Brandy Kelso, Phoenix. I do see you're present. I will mark you as present. Christopher Wanamaker, Pinal County. Julian Dressang is proxy for Mohammed Yusuf, Queen Creek.
Present.
Thank you. Nathan Domi, Scottsdale.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Boyles, Surprise.
Present.
Thank you. Shelley Seiler, Tempe.
Present.
Thank you. Chris Hamilton, Tolleson. Trevor Collin, Valley Metro.
Present.
Thank you. Herschel Workman, Wickenburg. And Grant Anderson, Youngtown.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is called to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items, or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. I have received no requests to speak for the call to the audience. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with the committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the call to the audience?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any online written comments for call to the audience.
Thank you. Our next item is the MAG staff report. Patrick Stone, MAG Deputy Transportation Director for Programming, will provide the report.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Pleasure to be here this morning to present the report, somewhat abbreviated report. So first, I'm going to walk through the financial portfolio here, first starting with HERF for the month of April. As you can see on the slide, HERF is 5.5% higher year over year compared with April 2024, although it is 2% below the forecast year to date. As part of a refinement and enhancement to the process, we're actually now including detailed HERF and RARF data, which we'll see next, provided by our partners at the Arizona Department of Transportation as part of their monthly financial report. So we'll have a little more detail behind the numbers, just beyond the numbers themselves. Next, please. And then RAR for the month of March, RAR's always offset by 1 month because of the collections. As you can see, 1.6% higher year over year compared with March 2024, and just within 1% below forecast year to date. And with that, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. If members have any questions, please contact Patrick after the meeting. We'll move on to item number 4, is informational items. There are no informational items on the agenda today. We can proceed to agenda item number 5, approval of the consent agenda. Items 5A through 5D are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have any questions or request a presentation on any of these items? Hearing none, prior to approval of the consent agenda, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any item on the consent agenda. I have received no requests for the consent agenda. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the consent agenda?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5D?
So moved.
Thank you, Jason.
Second. Dave Janover.
Thank you, David. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their cameras. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room, and those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam Kayat, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, regional programming. This item is on the agenda for recommended approval and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MAG Deputy Transportation Director for Programming.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the TRC. A pleasure to present this item. It's an item you've seen a couple times in the preceding months. But here we are today, finally, for approval and adoption of the regional programming guidelines. There we go. So kind of going to do a bit of a brief recap, orient us where we're at with these. The guidelines are replacing the federal fund programming guidelines and procedures, which have been in place at least since 2015 when MAG Regional Council last approved these. Applies to all projects with federal funding suballocated to the region. And the one thing to note, and this will carry over into the regional programming guidelines, these guidelines do not apply to the 3 life cycle programs, as those have specific policies and procedures for themselves. So a little bit of guideline history really came out of a request from Management Committee to help member agencies deal with the variability of managing federal funds. As you can see on the guidelines, original guidelines 2011 really were just intended to help deal with a specific call for projects. It was dealing with CMAQ funding in the region. Those were then enhanced and augmented in 2015 to do a much deeper dive into the programming process, and also to account for the fact that we now had portions of Pinal County within our programming region. So we had a sub-allocation of surface transportation funding for Pinal County, and so we needed the guidelines to account for that as well. So revisions that we did, it was really a collaborative effort. MAG staff took the first pass at kind of updating the guidelines, cleaned out a lot of the federal language that was just specific federal, introduced the concept of regional funding, so non-federal funding. And then we've had a couple of opportunities to chat with TRC, brought through some concepts we had, got feedback, hey, are we on the right path? And then we took an update through in April, and now we have the final version of the guidelines, which were included as part of the agenda item. You can see the version in April was just a very rough version. It was just text only. We've now got that cleaned up. Staff and our consultant have helped us put together what we think is a very nice product. And what you really see here is the guidelines are now done. They're fully baked. We think that they represent what we want to do as far as managing regional funds or managing funds in the region. So a couple key items on the guidelines. What you really see here, one of the big tenets in the change of the guidelines that we're approving, the deferral process. First deferrals now are going to require a presentation at a technical committee. Technical committee only, does not have to go beyond that. And it's not necessarily for approval, but is sort of a, what are you doing? What do you need? And how can we help you to ensure that your project moves forward? Second deferrals will mimic the process we have to date, which is a presentation through the MAG committee process. And then we did really clean up the third deferral. And the change here is the request has to come from a somewhat high level city staff, really looking at a city or town manager, county manager, but someone at that level to say, we do really have a need to do a third deferral. So progress reporting, previously what we had done in this space was we sent out a bunch of workbooks. We said, tell us your project's doing okay. You would send it back to us. And it was not probably the most engaging or helpful process. So we really have changed this process, I feel. We now move to agency coordination meetings. So instead of sending static workbooks, we actually are going to go out to the agencies and say, hey, here are the projects you have that we are tracking for you. Does this align with what the city or county has? The workbooks are going to modify somewhat. This thing is really being, but whatever. We'll work through it. So the workbook process, in the short term, we're going to still have workbooks because it's the tool we have. We will actually be moving to an online portal. So the second and third bullet points here, that's really what we intend to do, is to make status updates on projects more ongoing and not, oh, hey, it's May, let's go talk about your projects. Agencies will be able to update this information on time, real time. And it really then leads into the last bullet point of amendments. We'll actually be able to do more timely amendments to reflect changes in projects. So next steps, where are we at? This month, we took the final edits, incorporated the draft guidelines, and we're bringing them to TRC for recommended approval. So the guidelines in the packet are the final guidelines that we are intending to take through. And then next month, we move through the policy committee process for both management committee and regional council for formal approval and adoption. With that, Chair Wilcox completes my brief presentation. Be happy to take any questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Do any members have any questions or comments of Patrick? Prior to voting, there's an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the regional programming guidelines?
Chair, I'll move.
Thank you, Parab. And a second?
This is Jason Hafner, Town of Gilbert, seconded.
Thank you, Jason. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam Kayat, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll proceed to item number 7, fiscal year 2025, section 5310, program priority project listing for the Phoenix Mesa, Scottsdale, and the Phoenix West, Goodyear, Avondale urban areas. This item is on the agenda for recommended approval and will be presented by Wendy Miller, Transportation Improvement Program Manager.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox and members of the Transportation Review Committee. I'm pleased to be presenting this item to you today. The Section 5310 grant program enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities makes funding available for capital and operating assistance to support transportation services meeting the needs of older adults and people with disabilities. The eligible applicants are private nonprofits, public entities, tribal governments, and those agencies must be serving older adults 65 and older and people with disabilities. And the funding is available for the traditional capital projects like vehicles, equipment, preventive maintenance, and mobility management projects, and also eligible operating assistance. The map shown here is demonstrating the two different urban areas. We have two separate pots of money, if you will. We have an application process for each individual urban area. The area in blue is the Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale urban area, and the area in gold is the Phoenix West Goodyear Avondale. And the area in tan surrounding it is the area where ADOT serves as the designated recipient, and they handle the small and small and rural areas in the rest of the region. I'd like to cover the evaluation process in general. The timeline, the application is released in January of every year. In February, MAG and Phoenix staff hold individual technical support meetings with the applicants or the potential applicants. And this is a requirement for first-time applicants to ensure that they have the right idea of what the program is about and that they're on target for their applications. In March, Phoenix and MAG together conduct internal eligibility reviews of all of the applications and distribute the applications to the committee. In April, the committee conducts a very long 2-day process of reviewing. I think this year it was like 45 plus applications. It was a lot. And then the committee develops the priority listing of projects. Brings us to today. We're presenting this for recommended approval today for you all and eventually to Regional Council in June. Just a brief overview of the evaluation process. The evaluation rubric is published in the application handbook, and it consists of capability and experience. Does the applicant have the appropriate staffing, experience with the services, and potential experience managing federal grants? Does the project meet the program objectives, the intent of the program, and serving the right target population? Is the budget request appropriate, and do they participate in the required federal requirement of the coordination efforts? The recommendations are based upon the final ranking of all the applicants in each urban area respectively, and upon MAG Regional Council approval, that priority listing is forwarded on to the City of Phoenix to allocate the funding to the projects and submit those to the Federal Transit Administration. One item to note is there is a federal requirement that 55% minimum must be allocated to traditional capital projects. And this is because, the regional practice is to set the target at a 60% level threshold. And that's to provide a buffer to ensure the 55% is actually met. The vehicle procurements are estimated amounts, and when we actually go to procure, Phoenix actually goes to procure those vehicles, there's typically project savings, and we're just doing that to ensure that it meets the minimum of the 55%. Here's a general listing of the Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale urban area breakdown. There were a total of 24 agencies that submitted 39 total projects for this area. Both the operating and the capital requests exceeded the target funding levels, with a federal request total of $3.4 million. For capital projects, there was $3.2 million available. And one item we'd like to note is that 27 total vehicles were requested. One agency did request 5 vehicles, and the committee recommended to adjust that total to a maximum of 2 vehicles Due to it being a first-time applicant, having a lower scoring application, and the need to build up staffing and program infrastructure. The operating requests were 2.3 million and there was 1.6 million available. In the Phoenix, Goodyear, Avondale urban area, 5 applications were submitted by a total of 3 agencies. We had capital requests for vehicles, mobility manager positions, and preventive maintenance, and 2 operating requests. Both the traditional and the capital requests also exceeded the total available, about $135,000 difference. Now, once approved by Regional Council, the City of Phoenix will apply the funding to the priority listing in rank order and ensuring the required funding levels of the 55% is met for the traditional capital projects. And with that, Chair, members of the committee, that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Wendy. Do any members have any questions or comments? Prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Thank you. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the priority listing of projects for the fiscal year 2025 section 5310 program recommendations for the Phoenix, Mesa, Scottsdale, and Phoenix West, Goodyear, Avondale urban areas? Do we have a motion, please?
So moved. This is Trevor, Valley Metro.
Thank you, Trevor.
Anderson, Youngtown, I second.
Thank you, Grant. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras, unmuting their audio. Members, please leave the mic on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay.
Aye.
Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam Kyatt, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Moving on to item 8, Regional Connected Vehicle-Based Pavement Condition Monitoring Platform. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Justin Baruman, Transportation Planner.
Thank you, Chair and members of the Transportation Review Committee. Good morning. I'm Justice Baruman, a Transportation Planner here at MAG, and today I'll be discussing how connected vehicle data is used to assess pavement conditions throughout the region and how this supports project evaluation and scoring. MAG uses pavement roughness as a scoring criterion for competitive programs, more specifically for arterial rehabilitation and reconstruction. This metric supports MAG's commitment to maintaining the region's roadway infrastructure in a state of good repair and aligns with federal requirements from the Federal Highway Administration, which mandates pavement condition reporting on the National Highway System. Having consistent and current pavement condition data enables MAG and our member agencies to identify and prioritize segments with the greatest infrastructure need across the regional transportation network. Historically, pavement conditions are measured using specialized vehicles equipped with LiDAR. These surveys are costly and often are inaccessible to smaller jurisdictions. As a result, data coverage has historically been inconsistent and incomplete, particularly for collectors and minor arterials. Much of this data was outdated by the time it informed project scoring. Now, in 2019, MAG's Regional Arterial and Bridge Needs Assessment Project aggregated pavement condition data from numerous agencies, each using its own rating system, PCI, PACER, PCR, PQI. Through largely academic research to compare the disparate collection types, we developed a crosswalk to convert these into a good, fair, poor scale. And while functional, this process took 9 months and resulted in a loss of granularity and consistency. Now in 2023, with the SunCloud data portal, MAG piloted a new approach using data from Naira Dynamics, a company that collects International Roughness Index data, or IRI, through onboard sensors in connected vehicles. These data are anonymized, aggregated, and processed to create pavement roughness maps for freeways and arterials, as well as collector roads across the region. What you're seeing here is a screenshot from the dashboard showing long-term pavement conditions near North Gateway, which is where I live. And I can confirm that I've experienced that clump of alerts along that roadway. This platform provides both daily and 90-day aggregates. It's been validated against traditional survey methods by MAG and independently. We've now subscribed to this platform, meaning that we'll be able to leverage the data currently incorporated in the SunCloud data portal, but now with regular updates. And so what does this mean for you? Well, this approach provides several benefits to your local agency. It can be used as a substitute for LiDAR-based pavement surveys and to validate or supplement traditional data collection methods. Agencies can receive timely, consistent updates and alerts for sudden surface degradation. You can use the data to track roadway conditions over time and easily identify strong candidates for future project applications where pavement condition is a consideration. And lastly, each agency will have direct access to the dashboard and view the pavement roughness maps in their jurisdictions without requesting it from MAG, but of course, will be available to provide assistance if required. This brings me to my final point, and it's that MAG is hosting an in-person workshop on Monday, June 9th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at our offices. Naira Dynamics staff will be present to lead a detailed walkthrough of the platform. And this session will cover dashboard navigation, setting up alerts, and exporting pavement condition data. An RSVP email will be sent following this meeting. Chair, members of TRC, that concludes my presentation. This item is on the agenda for information, and I'm happy to answer any questions if any members have any.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Just wondering if that RSVP invitation is going to be sent to Streets Committee and other transportation committees, or who all is that going to?
I believe, Chair and Jason, the RSVP email will be sent to members of TRC and Streets Committee.
Okay.
Just, I have a question. Can I bring a +1? I have a pavement manager I would like to bring with me. If that's, do we have to be part of the committees, or can I bring my pavement manager to come and have the conversation along with me?
Chair Wilcox, Nathan, absolutely. I believe there is a portion of the RSVP where you can essentially fill in the RSVP for another applicant as well.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
I did have a question. How is the data collected? I'm down in City Maricopa. Are there vehicles with the, can you explain that? How is it collected and to what extent?
Yeah. Chair, Keith, the data comes from anonymized sources from the onboard sensors already installed in newer vehicles that are all on the roadways. I believe Naira Dynamics is contracts with certain auto manufacturers. So as those vehicles travel along the roadways in any parts of the region, that data is collected, anonymized, and processed to create those pavement roughness maps. So there's no need to send out LiDAR vehicles, and that information comes directly from people who are actually using the roadways.
So I just bought a new Toyota. So it has this data collection on it somehow, and it's sending information.
The specific vehicle manufacturers, I don't think is disclosed. At least I'm not aware of which ones those are. But in theory, that Toyota will be collecting certain details about suspension, wheel speed, and movements. So yes, that's understanding. Your understanding is correct.
Oh, interesting.
This is Dave Jenner. I have a quick question. So is this just for freeway and arterial networks collectors, but not local roads?
Chair, members of the TRC, yes, that's accurate. This is for freeways, collectors, and arterials, minor arterials as well, not local roads.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. Do any members have any questions or additional questions or comments? Not, thank you, Justice.
Thank you, Chair. Members.
Move to item number 9, regional competitive programs, March 2025 call for projects, fiscal years 2026, 2027, and 2028 arterial rehabilitation and reconstruction program. This item is on the agenda for recommended approval and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MAG Deputy Transportation Director for Programming.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC. Very excited today to present this item and also the next agenda item. As the Chair noted, this is the Arterial Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Program and the foray into programming for fiscal years 26, 27, and 28. Little backstory on the Arterial Rehab and Reconstruction Program. It is one of the 2 new competitive programs funded under the RSTIP, the first 2 new ones coming out of the gate. This one a little different than ones we'll see that come up as we go through the years in the implementation of the RSTIP. These 2 programs, both rehab and reconstruction and the widening program, fully federally funded, so there's no regional sales tax dollars associated with this. And kudos, a lot of folks in the room, a lot of folks online, collaborative effort here. This was a long effort over the latter part of calendar year 2024. We had a series of working group meetings, first introducing the concept of these 2 programs, and then working with member agency staff to highlight and develop what we thought reasonable policies and procedures were. We took those through the policy committee, got a check-in with them, got some additional guidance of what they thought, things they would like to see. And from that, we developed this gorgeous looking document here, the Arterial Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Program. This was approved by Regional Council a couple months ago in March. Really kind of sets the tone for the program. It's the policy document, details eligibility, really gets into the depth of the qualitative and quantitative criteria, one-stop shop for all things ARRP. And one thing which is germane to the conversation today, it talks about the technical review of project ranking. So last week, MAG Street Committee met, reviewed the projects that were submitted, and then developed a prioritized project ranking. So the goals of the rehab reconstruction program kind of make sense. Thinking of Justice's previous presentation, really an investment and a thought about the roadway surfaces, understanding that well-maintained road surfaces are critical to the region. Because one thing they do, they improve safety, they also increase mobility for users of the system. And then finally, you kind of 1 and 4 go together, but there's a concerted effort to maintain those investments we've made over the years in this region. The objective, really accumulation of the goals that you just saw, increasing regional mobility by improving the capacity on existing roadways and allowing for the expansion of the network. Oh, oops, apologies. Eligibility, the arterial network, the 1 mile arterial grid, those that provide connection to freeways and also other key corridors. So evaluation criteria for the rehab and reconstruction, as Justice did note, there are 3 quantitative criteria, one of those being pavement condition IRI. We also use AADT and serious and fatal crash rates. We do have 4 qualitative. These were scores provided by our member agencies reviewing the applications. These include things such as highlighting unique attributes of the projects, alignment with the goals of the program, safety considerations, and also community outreach. Brief overview of the call for itself. They are always maintained on our website. The call went out March 28th after we had Regional Council approval of the policies and procedures. Gave member agencies 5 weeks to complete applications. We did receive 24 applications by the due date. Roughly 156 million in applications against, as you can see on the screen, just under $94 million in available funding. Schedule of this call for projects, as you can see, starting March 28th, the memo went out, did a couple of workshops in the month of April, fairly well attended, thought those went well. We had the applications due earlier this month. As noted, Street Committee met a week ago to prioritize the project rankings. Today, first bite of the apple as far as reviewing the project ranking, but really it's the funding scenario that is the component where TRC shines. It's in the policies. TRC is the first to make a funding recommendation. It will then move through policy committees in the month of June. And then award letters will be sent out by the end of June. And to note, those award letters will also include an invitation to have an engagement meeting with MAG to start you on your journey to getting these projects delivered. As noted, 24 applications, can't put them all on one screen. It would be tiny font. So you can see half the applications here and then the other half there, fairly well spread out. The map here really, I think, does a phenomenal job of saying these were where the projects were. These are where we received the applications, really kind of span the width and breadth of the MAG region. And with that, this is the slide. So this is the project ranking as approved by Street Committee last week. And the funding recommendation, we have used a very straight methodology of starting with the highest ranked project, fully funding that, and then moving on to the next project on ad infinitum until we get to the 10th ranked project for the city of Phoenix, which could only receive partial funding. We did check with our partners at the city of Phoenix, asked would they be willing, if this recommendation is approved, would they be willing to accept partial funding? And they did concur that they would be okay with that. And with that, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee, that concludes my presentation. Be happy to take any questions from yourself or members of the committee. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Patrick, I have a question. Is there any chance we can move that red line down 3 rows? Just kidding, but I do have a real question. How is it going to work with the different years of programming funds available? How are we going to know which year these projects are going to be programmed?
Chair Wilcox, members of TRC, Vice Chair Crampton, a great question. So I didn't want to bog this process down into the specifics of the years. We have some flexibility. If you noticed when we did the call, we said it was 93 million for 26, 27, 28. We were very specifically not saying, oh, it's 12 million this year, 50 million this year, or 25 million that year. We do have some flexibility. I did review the applications. I reviewed the years that had been programmed. It looks pretty reasonable that we can fulfill and meet all of the needs for each year. But yeah, great question. Thank you. So
you would work with each agency after this process to program each one individually?
Yeah, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC, Vice Chair Crampton, that was the intent, and that's also the intent of the conversation post-June when we send out the award letters, is we'll then get into the specifics of project schedule, like a more detailed project schedule. We'll work with both the member agency and also with ADOT and kind of confirm, hey, we have what we think is a reasonable schedule. It aligns with programming years. But yeah, we took a first pass at it, but we'll develop it more fully once we have final regional council approval.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment. Grant.
Yes, Grant, please go ahead.
I'm also on the street committee, and we did not know where the red line was, as dollars were not a factor. We developed the list based upon the quantitative and qualitative. Just to comment, and I knew this would happen, the goals as we develop them seem to favor the organizations that had least money. The ones that did not, like SRP, MIC, and others of that nature, did not rank high because their facilities did not have much traffic. And I believe that we want to take a look at goals that may benefit those that are not as high as traveled, but yet have a need and have no other ways of getting it accomplished in the future. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Chair Wilcox, members of TRC, Grant, great points actually, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Leads to actually another teaser, if you shall. Based on, and we knew we were going to do this when we started this call for projects. We will be getting the arterial competitive program working groups back together this fall. With that intent, Grant, is to do a debrief on these calls and walk through evaluation criteria, eligibility, any number of factors, and did it work? You know, did we see the results we expected? Are there refinements can we make? Are there things we thought worked well? Like, hey, this was exactly what we want. So yeah, Grant, we'll certainly be getting that group together to talk about the whole process in its totality.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Keith Brown, City of Maricopa. I would like to echo Grant's concerns and comments. I share the same, even though we don't have a project that was submitted on this particular call. After having gone through it, seeing the results, and not really knowing going into this what the nature of the submittals and really how it would shake out. One thing I see is, multiple cities had multiple projects. They submitted some 3-4 projects and were awarded, where some only submitted one and didn't receive any funding. So definitely needs to be revisited on how the, provide some more equity for the various communities to actually have a shot at getting some of this funding. Because I think the way it's set up now, it does kind of discriminate against some of those communities, like Grant said, that may not have the same high number of severe accidents and high traffic, but still has a great need for this funding, but it's just out of reach because we don't compete the same as some of these that submitted multiple projects. So, and I will voice the same concerns for the next, the arterial widening one, which we did have one on, but so I realize this follows what was agreed to, but I think it definitely needs to be revisited, and how the funding is allocated and the projects are funded. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Wilcox. Mr. Brown, actually good points you make as part of our policy conversations when we took this through both Management Committee and Transportation Policy Committee. We had conversations about, do we limit length? Do we limit project size as far as the amount of funding you could submit? Even in the working group, we talked about numbers of applications. As you see, this was sort of an unconstrained call for projects. So we may see some barriers put up in subsequent calls. The working group and the policy committees may say, hey, we'd like to see some pivots made. So we'll certainly have those conversations.
Thank you, Patrick. Do any members have any additional comments or questions?
Chair.
Yes.
John Wilt, City of Buckeye. To echo what Keith said, I was specifically asked this question by my management. Hey, 2 agencies got 6 of the 10 projects. And if you do the numbers, they got about 2/3 of the funding of what's allowed. And it was just, and I know this is our first shot. I mean, this is our first shot at doing this. We hadn't had it before. And I like what Patrick said, that we're going to go back and reevaluate this. And maybe it's limit the links, cap a dollar amount that you're allowed to get, which I think will greatly change how some of these projects get submitted. I'm sure some of the bigger projects may have been rescoped totally different. If an agency knew that we can only get 10, then we're not going to go for 20. And so, because that means we got to bring more. We're going to make the project smaller, and or maybe we limit. And I don't know how to do this because I'm still new to this. Is when we have a certain percentage of requests more than the amount, we cap the number of projects an agency can hit. It can be 2 only, but if only 5 agencies submit and we're way less than all the money, then maybe they get 3. I don't know how to do this. I mean, a lot of discussions probably need to happen on this going forward, but I think for a first shot, it's pretty good. I'm supposed to whine and cry because we're right up below the red line, but I'm not going to do that. So I know there's a way to work out. So.
Yeah, Chair Wilcox, members of the committee, Mr. Willett, good points you raised. Another thing, and the points you raised actually made me think of another thing. I will acknowledge this was a very condensed schedule. This was a lot faster than we would traditionally do it. Already have talked with our data management application team, talked with internally. The next call that we do based on the conversations we have with the working group, we will have significantly more lead time into the call. So one thing we'll be able to do, which I think will help, is we'll be able to sit with agencies, show you your networks, and kind of talk about projects to also assist agencies. Hey, here's what preliminary scoring works like. It's not final scoring, but just to give some more insight into, kind of to your point, hey, what applications would we submit? What projects would they go for if they knew more data? So yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Do any additional members have any questions or comments to make on this agenda item?
I have one if I could.
Okay.
Eric Boyle, City Surprise. I kind of agree with what John said. I think I ended up here at the very bottom of the list, so I'm not going to cry and complain either. I do think one of the things that we need to at least look at, and what I got from our members of the streets committee is, we spend a lot of our budget to try to keep our streets at a pavement quality index that's very high, throughout. So knowing the way that the kind of scores kind of lined out, in this, I think it just raises the question: are we incentivizing, roadways to just deteriorate to an amount, so it can get funding? I just think that that's something that, we probably need to look at, when as policymakers, to kind of say, hey, maybe there's a way to figure out to allow some of the agencies that do spend a lot of money, to keep their streets high, and want to make it go as far as possible, squeaking a few of those in. So that's just my one comment.
Very good. Thank you for your additional comment. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Julian Driesang with the Town of Queen Creek.
Please.
Chair, committee. I just wanted to echo some of the comments I made earlier. I do want to say I got to attend the streets committee, and I definitely was not disappointed in the quality of projects that were submitted by all the jurisdictions across the valley. But I guess ultimately I was kind of disappointed in the limited number of agencies that ultimately get impacted with this funding. And so I definitely think having the opportunity to sit at the table and talk about how we can ensure that impact is spread out and what that looks like. I know that early on there was discussion about funding caps, or I think this brings to light maybe the need to limit the amount of projects per agency. But again, great projects around the board, but I definitely think there's opportunity for improvement. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is Jason Hafner, Town of Gilbert.
Please, Jason.
Patrick, I love the idea of sharing some more of the data so we can see maybe some more competitive projects get listed. I'm hearing all the concerns of my fellow committee members, and I'm kind of torn. I'm hearing what they're saying, but also I recognize that this is a regional fund source, and I think it's important that we're spending our money on the areas of the greatest need. So I'm kind of torn on this idea of distributing the funds between member agencies and sort of taking care of the roadways that are in the worst shape. So I'm looking forward to the conversation when we reconvene the committees.
Mr. Chairman, this is Sanderson again. I have one more comment.
Go ahead, Grant.
I wonder if there's any way to change the funding amount from 100% for those projects above the line, except for Phoenix, to maybe 50% and include the red line further down.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC. Certainly consideration can be given. This was a recommended funding scenario as included in the agenda packet. There's pluses and minuses, Grant. As you know, if you reduce the amount you allocate to the other projects, sure, the line can go down, but then you're telling every agency you have to contribute more local funding. I ran some numbers, and to if you look at, oh, hey, can we fund every agency and give everyone some bit of this funding, you're looking at beyond a 40-60 split federal to local on every single project. Member agencies may not have budgeted for that. This is already a fairly aggressive 70-30 split. So we're already asking member agencies. So when you look at the recommended amount, Grant, well, it's 100% of the amount requested. It's only 70% maximum of the project cost. So each of those agencies that we're recommending for funding is still contributing a significant amount of funding to their projects.
And those that aren't funded are contributing 100%.
Chair Wilcox, members of the TRC, true, Grant, if they're looking to deliver this project sooner than later, then yes, they may be looking at funding that with their local dollars. This isn't the first bite of this apple. This is the first bite. This isn't the last bite of the apple for the rehab program. We will be getting, as I noted, getting the working group back together. getting considerations, recommendations, thoughts, taking those through the committee process if appropriate and necessary. We will be doing another call for projects. I can't say when. Most likely it'll be fiscal years 29, 30, and 31, given that we want a lot of lead time on this call. We'll probably have a call going out sooner than later, such that if you had a project that maybe didn't get funded, depending on some variables that get changed, it may become a very viable project. You may want to resubmit it. So it's not precluding agencies from, hey, you know what, we're going to come back to this project later. Maybe we'll do some tweaks to it. So hopefully that
Thank you.
helped. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Any other comments or questions from the membership? Hearing none, prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the prioritized project listing and recommended funding scenario for the fiscal year 2026, 2027, and 2028 arterial rehabilitation and reconstruction program?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Jason.
Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you, Parab. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call. Can I have a voice vote of those and those online? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam Kayet, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, Regional Competitive Programs March 2025 Call for Projects, fiscal years 2026, 2027, and 2028 Arterial Widening Program. This item is on the agenda for recommended approval and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MEG Deputy Transportation Director for Program. Patrick.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the TRC. Again, a pleasure to present this item, the corollary to my prior item on the Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Program. This now is the Widening Program. Kind of go quickly through the slides. Some of these are the same because these programs were actually developed in concert when we did the working groups back in last year, latter part of 2024. Both programs were under consideration. So this is the second of the two new programs under the RSTIP being funded. Again, it's fully federally funded. With that comes all the federal requirements and rules. And again, just take the time to acknowledge it was a lot of work. I think we see in the discussions we had throughout the committee process with this, a lot of effort from member agency staff went into developing these policies, procedures, and programs. Here's the arterial widening program, very similar to the rehab. It was approved in late March, covers the policy really covers how the program operates and the details of said program. And ultimately, just like the prior one, the initial ranking done by street committee and then moving those results forward today. Goals, a few more goals with the widening program, just because of the nature of the program. It really has two core tenets. One is expanding capacity on existing roadways within the region, but there's also the allowance for establishing new arterial roads. Again, and then another kind of a twofold one is really providing connectivity, really getting folks around the region, while also ensuring the safety and mobility of individuals. And all of this leads to increased economic competitiveness and growth while maintaining the region's investments. Objective is very kind of similar. It's a core compendium of those goals. Really, we're increasing regional mobility by improving capacity on existing and new roadways, strengthening economic value while protecting roadway users. Eligibility is the same as those for the rehab and reconstruction, which is the 1 mile grid arterial network, those that provide key connections. Evaluation criteria, a little different for the widening program. We do actually have 5 quantitative factors. So what you have is you have the traffic volume factor, 2 reliability factors, if you will. We have LOTTR, plus we have the travel time index. And then we also bifurcate the safety to have both a serious fatal crash rate and the introduction of a non-motorized crash rate. In alignment with the goals and objectives, the qualitative, we do add a 5th factor for economic development, along with meeting the goals of the program, highlighting unique attributes, and then considerations of safety and community. Overview, very similar. Call went out March 28th. Applications were due May 2nd. We did receive only 14 applications for this, so fewer applications. One thing you will note, while we only received 14 applications, they were 160 million plus in project size. So these are much larger projects against 56.2 million in programming. Schedule no different than the rehab and reconstruction. We sit here today at May 22nd, reviewing the project ranking and discussing the recommended funding scenario, and looking to move that through the policy committees in June, with ultimate award notification to member agencies by the end of the fiscal year. Because there was only 14, we can't fit all agencies on one slide. You can see all agencies that have submitted applications under arterial widening. Again, this is the kind of the cross section. You see some larger projects, you see some smaller projects, but this is those projects throughout the valley. And then ultimately, here is the prioritized project ranking. This ranking was recommended unanimously by street committee last week. We used a similar methodology as done for arterial rehab and reconstruction, which was to fund the top ranked project fully, go down the list until we hit the cut line so we can fully fund the top 6 projects. And then we can personally fund the 7th project for the city of Phoenix. And as noted on the slide, they again agreed to accept partial funding for their project. With that, Chair, that concludes my presentation, albeit brief. Happy to take any questions from yourself or members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Do any members have any questions or comments on this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, Keith Brown, City of Maricopa. I'd just like to reiterate the same comments I made on the previous one about needing to revisit how these are implemented and funded. In this occasion, there's 11 agencies that submitted. I know, per your term, the peanut butter approach, that'd be $5 million per agency, which could do quite a lot with. And just as we move forward, looking forward, I don't know if there's any opportunity to revisit these. I'd certainly encourage that as it moves up to the other committees, management committees and such to look. But it's certainly, there's a lot of dollars are going to a few agencies that submitted these projects, and there's quite a few other agencies that could really use some of that help to fund some projects in our communities as well. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from the membership? Hearing none. Prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members to comment. I've received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any written comments for this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the prioritized project listing and recommended funding scenario for the fiscal year 2026, 2027, and 2028 arterial widening program?
Chair, I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Prab. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam Kayat, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 11. This item is on the agenda for recommended approval and will be presented by Carrie Kassler, Transportation Planner 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, members of TRC. Today, I will be presenting the draft fiscal year 2026 Prop 479 Arterial Life Cycle Program. So quick overview, originally outlined within the Regional Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Investment Plan, or the RSTIP, The ALCP projects were slotted into phases. Those are 5-year blocks rather than specific fiscal years. So over the past several months, we've worked with member agencies to sequence those projects and get them into actual fiscal years for the program. Additionally, I do want to note that the ALCP is a reimbursement-based program. So if an agency has a project that's a very high priority that's programmed in a later year, they are welcome to build it now, and they will get reimbursed as their the program reimbursements come in the later fiscal years. So some quick background, I'm sure you guys could give this as well. The ALCP is outlined in statute that it must remain fiscally constrained, meaning we cannot reimburse more than we receive in revenues. Originally outlined in the RSTIP, the budget amounts were showcased in base 2020 constant dollars, and those amounts have been brought into base $25 for the draft that is before you. So quick overview of the program development timeline and the work that we've done this year. So starting in January, we provided an update to this body as well as the policy committees of the ALCP work group effort for the development of the policies and procedures. We then developed a first draft of the financial workbook where we placed all of the projects in the last year of the phase that was outlined in the RSTIP. Additionally, rather than breaking it out into phases of the budget being design, right-of-way, and construction, they were all just placed as the whole number. And you can see that showcased here. So this is the ALCP workbook. And you can see in the last year of the phases, that's where all of those budgets were placed. This was just to reflect exactly what was outlined in the RSTIP. So moving forward, we met with member agencies to discuss their projects as well as their priorities and the timelines so we could get a better understanding of where they are with their priorities and those projects. In March, the policies and procedures were passed by Regional Council. Continuing in March and April, we continued those discussions with member agencies to ensure that the draft reflected the agency needs as well as aligning with the available revenues. An information item for those development activities was brought through TRC last month and was just presented to Transportation Policy Committee yesterday for information and discussion. And finally, we're here with the fiscal year 26 Prop 479 ALCP for recommended approval. So within those discussions, we understand that there are some modifications that are needed. Some of those include the advancement and deferments. Again, those are outlined within the policies and procedures. Those do not require committee action. So if there were any of those adjustments, they are included in the draft document before you, as well as the project change tool. I did discuss this last month. This does require committee action. So this will be an effort that will take place after the program approval. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Before I open myself up to questions, I'd like to thank all of your guys' staff for your help. This has been many months of a lot of work, and we're here finally at the end with our first draft of the 479 ALCP. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Carrie. Do any members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? Hearing none, prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the draft fiscal year 2026 Proposition 479 Arterial Life Cycle Program contingent on a finding of air quality conformity?
Mr. Chair, Jason Hafner, Town of Gilbert, so moved.
Thank you, Jason.
Second, Eric Boyle, City of Surprise.
Thank you, Eric. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the vote by turning on cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on after the roll call vote. The voice vote of those in the room and those online. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam Kayet, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to item 12, requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests from the membership for an item on a future agenda? The next agenda item is comments from the committee. Are there any comments or announcements from the membership that you'd like to make at this time? Hearing none, the next meeting of the Transportation Review Committee will be on Thursday, June 26th at 10 a.m. With no further business, today's meeting is adjourned